Welcome, everybody. It is Tuesday evening, October 12th, 2021 at 7 o'clock. We are in a hybrid format. Some of us are here at Lee Middle and High School in the conference room, and some of us are coming to you through Zoom. We are in a virtual meeting room per Governor Baker's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Section 20. This meeting will take place virtually via Zoom. I'm going to call this meeting to order pursuant to MGLC 30A Section 20. I am hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of the meeting. Could you guys please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The mission statement of Lee Public Schools is to ensure students have the opportunities to develop the social, civil, and critical thinking skills to thrive in an ever-changing world. Brenda, could I trouble you for a roll call, please?
Mr. Aubin,
Present.
Mr. Kiddes,
Here.
Mrs. Kushar, Ms. Larman,
Here.
Mr. Nichols,
Here.
Ms. Strickler,
Here.
and Mrs. Wadsworth.
Here.
Okay, first thing on our agenda are some meeting minute approvals. So the first one I'd like to approve is the September 14th, 2021. I will entertain a motion.
I move to accept the minutes from Tuesday, September 14th meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Brenda, can you do a roll call for us?
Mr. Aubin,
Abstain.
Mr. Kiddes,
Yes.
Mrs. Kushar,
Yes.
Ms. Larman,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Strickler,
Yes,
Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Okay. Next set of minutes is from September 24th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I motion to accept the minutes from Friday, September 24th, 2021.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, Brenda, may I have another roll call, please?
Mr. Aubin,
Yes.
Mr. Kiddes,
Yes.
Mrs. Kushar,
Yes.
Ms. Larman,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Strickler,
abstain.
and Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Okay, and our last set of meeting minutes are from September 30th, 2021. I will entertain a motion.
I motion.
Make a,
Go
I'll
ahead.
use consent
Damn
first.
it.
Not the last one. You vote.
You, Nicole.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 30th, 2021 Lee School Committee minutes.
Second,
Any discussion? All right, Brenda.
Mr. Aubin,
Yes.
Mr. Kiddes,
Yes.
Mrs. Kushar,
Yes.
Ms. Larman,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Strickler,
yes,
Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody. All right, Mr. Kenish, you are up.
All right, we're at the public input part of our agenda. Members of the public are invited to address the committee at this time. Issues raised will normally be referred to the administration or a subcommittee of the school committee. So do we have anyone? Oh, I see one hand up here. Kathy Hall, please.
You're muted, Kathy.
You're not a rookie, Kathy. Come on.
I know, but I'm old now. What can I say? But anyways, from the Lee Library, and you could always Google the Lee Library newsletter or call the library 243-0385. They have on their newsletter the biennial Wildcat alumni and staff art exhibit. And people that are eligible would be anyone who has graduated from our Lee school system or has been employed currently or formerly employed by the school system. This is a juried show of artwork. You can enter as many as 3 pieces, and you need to submit your work by Friday, December 3rd, 2021. And as I said, you can Google Lee Library newsletter to get the information of where you have to send the information, or call the library at 243-0385. And for the Chamber of Commerce, the community cleanup for this month is Saturday, October 30th. For the Lee Youth Commission, the seesaw has been removed from the toddler playground, and that area is secured. We still need to find out if that seesaw can be repaired, or we have to replace it, or we're just going to put another piece of equipment in its stead. The pickleball lines will be done tomorrow at the tennis courts at the Lee Athletic Field. We do have some volunteers to do that work. The gates of the courts will be locked until the paint has dried. So people that want to play tennis or want to play pickleball within the next few days, please be patient. We need to make sure that everything is okay. I might have a question later on about golf. I can't ask the question because you have that near the end of your agenda. But it says something about, a new business, golf in schools, LES. So if you'll give me permission later on to be able to put my 2 cents in there, I'd appreciate it, because right now I don't know what you're going to talk about. Okay, thank you very much. That's it for now.
Thanks, Kathy.
Anybody else?
Anybody mind?
All right.
All right, thank you. All right, student representative reports. I'm looking, I know I saw Emma. I saw an Emma, there she is. Hi, Emma.
Hi, can you guys all hear me?
Yeah.
So because I believe there are new school committee members that I haven't met. My name is Emma Punton, which I know sounds confusing, but there was another Emma the past week that is someone different. We both do similar things. We're the co-facilitators of the student government at Lehigh. But I was one of the student reps last year, so I believe some people will recognize me. But I don't have a lot to report on this week. We're still near the beginning of the year. At least for students, we've only been in school for like 2 months. But we had our first meeting, I think 2 weeks ago, with the new members of the student government this year. There's new freshmen, sophomores, I think even some new juniors as well, which is really good. And we're just working on setting our goals for this year. That's all really going on in student government right now. Like I said, we're still near the beginning of the year, getting started on our goals for this year. And then in the school, we're working on some Halloween activities, which we're excited for, getting to dress up again with our houses, if you know what those are. And yeah, all the sports are up and going, but I'm sure that the principal will talk about that as well. So that's all that I have today.
Thanks, Emma. Does anybody have any questions for Emma? All right. Next up is me. Chair report. The only thing I have on my chair report is I just want to remind all of the school committee members who may or may not have, I'm going to say not have, submitted their vaccination, proof of vaccination to the superintendent to please make sure that you do that before the December 1 deadline. And that is all I have for my chair report this month. Next up, we have superintendent report from Mike Richard.
All right, thank you. Let me. There we go. All right, well, good evening and thank you for joining us. It is October 12th, 2021. And as Emma just noted, wow, we're almost at 2 months of school. It's pretty remarkable to think, but it's been flying. Time has been flying by, and I attribute the speed with which the school year is moving with the sort of cooperation, dedication, and understanding of students, staff, and community members as we navigate this school year. So thank you to everyone for that. Quick enrollment update. We're down 5 from last month. But if you look to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you're going to notice that it's in some ways a little bit normal. We had a few students transfer to St. Mary's, 1 move out and 1 graduation. So we're not doing too badly. There are still those couple of grade levels that are of concern to us, including grade 1 and grade 8. However, I think that my hope and my optimism remain high that the work that we're doing as part of the strategic planning committee work is going to make the Lee Public Schools an attractive destination for folks outside of the town of Lee. So I'll keep you posted on that. That's just another breakdown for you. And again, I want to remind the committee and folks at home and those who may be watching that a lot of the information that I put on these slides is here for your reference purposes so that you can go back if you miss anything, you don't want to watch this whole meeting. But we do post these slides to the website so that you can scroll through them at a later time in case you miss anything or you want to dig a little deeper into some of the data that are provided. Personnel updates, we had a couple of new hires, Emmeline McNair as an LES paraprofessional and Maria Torres in the LMHS cafeteria. And then a couple of resignations and change in status, Monica Dingman, special education secretary, Brenda Reedy in the cafeteria at the middle and high school, and Jill Tisdale at the LES cafeteria. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about cafeteria staffing later in this presentation. COVID-19 update. Again, a lot of redundancy here. You've heard a lot of this from me month after month after month, but I think it doesn't hurt to continue to remind everybody to wash, wear, and watch. The vaccination status and masking has been pushed out to November 1st by DESE. Masks continue to be required on school transportation, and the DESE is still leaving open the opportunity as of this Friday for communities with vaccination rates of 80% or greater for all students and staff in the school that are vaccinated, that we could make changes to that policy. However, that's in the school committee's hands, and right now we are not at that 80% level. I did read, I think it was today, or maybe it was yesterday, there is 1 town in the state so far that has cleared that hurdle and is prepared to take that route. We have had 5 cases through last week at LES and 3 cases at LMHS, but we continue to keep test and stay protocols in place. And as a reminder, that's for when the contact potentially occurred in school. This test and stay does not apply for out of school contact. So I remind everyone, staff and students alike, to please be careful when you're out in the community. Mask up as much as possible when appropriate to keep our schools safe. And if you don't feel well, whether you are a staff member or a student, please stay home. It's for your own protection, for the protection of those who share the schools with you. Here's the vaccination data. And the state, you'll notice, has switched from COVID-19 positivity rates to vaccination rates and what they're sharing and actively publicizing. So I'm sharing that with you here. As I mentioned before, we're short of that 80%. If you look about just more than halfway over to the right, you'll see a column, fully vaccinated individuals per capita. And these are the grade spans, or age spans rather, that represent our schools, particularly the middle and high school. So you'll see 68% for those aged 12 to 15 and 73% for those aged 16 to 19. Again, I will remind people who feel comfortable to get vaccinated. You're encouraged to do so, again, for your protection and those around you. Routine COVID safety checks continue to take place. Again, reminders, the state is paying for this. We are employing multiple options for the secondary testing, so to maximize time on learning. So we started in week 1 with double swabbing. We found that took quite a bit of time, kept students out of class and away from their brief lunch experience. So we switched gears so that we were doing a single swab to get students moving more quickly. And we're doing Binax now, testing the next day after we get results when appropriate. That does move it along quicker. We'll see what the next round of results bring us. We did not test this week because we test on Mondays. And so county was not able to assist us today. As such, we'll wait and see what next Monday brings. However, at the middle and high school, we did take advantage of our supply of Binax Now supplies and made sure that our student athletes who will be traveling outside of town, as well as those who participate in Shakespeare and Company, we made sure that they all got tested so we can ensure that they are safe. Strategic improvement plan update. The subcommittees will be meeting. I think one met last week, another is meeting maybe tomorrow evening. The full committee meetings are scheduled for the 23rd, the 2nd, and the 4th. That's of October, November, and December, respectively. 2 of those dates are Saturdays. They will be full day events. So thank you to those people who are participating in this work. Again, I hope to be able to bring a plan to you by the December 14th meeting for us to get this wrapped up so we can have a plan on file and something guidepost for us as we move forward. MCAS, everybody's favorite 4-letter word. I'm going to talk from kind of a 30,000-foot level about this, and Mr. Briganti and Mr. Martinuk are going to talk about the data as they apply to their schools. So bear with me. There are a lot of slides, but again, I want to emphasize that many of these are here to simplify community members' searches for information, so you don't need to dig through DESE's website and navigate the accountability portal. Instead, you can go to these slides that will be posted to the website and find easier access. So for those of you who don't know, what is MCAS used for? School and district accountability, student accountability, and then improvements in teaching and learning. And again, this is what principals are going to talk about more in their reports. It's very, very important, though, for the committee and the community to know that MCAS last year was purely diagnostic and had no accountability factored into it. So this was simply to see how students were doing, not how the district was doing, how a school was doing, but rather a diagnostic assessment for the state and for our administrators and teachers to be able to use to gauge student learning. Here's some slides for you. They're nicely color coded, and I can't claim responsibility for having created these. These were stolen from DESE's website, but they look good. I'm going to minimize this so that everybody can see. So you'll see here, this is grades 3 through 8. I'm going to get into grade level specifics in a few minutes, but these are grades 3 through 8. The standards for ELA, math, and science are that students are either exceeding expectations, meeting expectations, partially meeting expectations, or not meeting expectations. And those are color-coded blue, green, yellow, and red, respectively. And what you'll see here on the left is how Lee students in grades 3 through 8 fared compared to how students in the state fared on the right-hand side. And what you'll see is we're relatively close. We did a little bit better in some areas. And overall, in grades 3 through 8, I see this as sort of meeting, I guess, generally our expectations for what we could have expected last year. This is grades 3 through 8 math. Again, same color coding scheme and same comparisons left to right, Lee versus the state. You'll notice that the exceeding expectations number, these are percentages, was low for us in mathematics, but that we did okay in terms of meeting or partially meeting. A little bit of work to do and not meeting expectations in mathematics. Grades 5 and 8 science, there is no grade 9 or 10 because the class of 23 were not required to take it in the spring of 2021. However, again, as far as I am concerned, we did pretty well relative to the state in our science testing. But, you know, this isn't a trial. It's not a trial. So when I say Lee versus the state of Massachusetts, these are those same figures, but spelled out for you. So again, the comparisons are right there in front of you. The number on the left is Lee. The number on the right are the state. So ELA expectations, grades 3 to 8, again, exceeding Lee was 6%. 8 represents the state's percentages. And I've got those same slides here for the next couple. Again, I don't need to go over each of those slides with you. We're going to talk about these in more detail when the principals have an opportunity. But I think what's really important is for us to sort of take this and look at it through a different lens. And that's 1 year's comparison or 1 year's analysis. We need to talk about some trends and some longitudinal reflections. So what you're going to see here over the next number of slides are some multi-year trends. Now, when we talk about the middle and high school, we've only got 2 years of data because the test changed. So in 2019, we've got data. 2021, we have data, and you'll remember that in 2020 there was no MCAS because that was to occur right after schools closed, and we never got back open. So MCAS did not occur in the spring of 2020. So you only have 2 years to look at right now. But each year as we move forward, we'll be able to make some comparisons. You'll see again, Lee, for the most part, is doing okay. We're doing okay. We need to a little bit of concern, if you could, is this not meeting expectations here in 2021 around ELA and grade 10, because the same thing happened in mathematics in the same year. That's a large percentage of students taking that test that aren't meeting expectations. But you'll remember at our last school committee meeting, we talked about how we were going to use ESSER 3 funds. We talked about the addition of a curriculum coordinator, the addition of math and ELA coaches. These are resources that are in place that are going to help us. You'll also remember a couple of months back that we approved the position of a math interventionist here at the middle and high school, and that staff member began today. So we're expecting his first priority is to work with students for the November retest to get them up to speed. I spoke with him a little bit today. He feels as though he's going to be able to affect some great change for those students. Feels confident that 95% of those students are going to be ready to meet with success on the November retest. If we look at grade 8 longitudinally, we have 4 years of data over a 5-year span, 2017, 18, 19, and 2021. And again, I'm not going to go through all of this with you, but it's good for a visualization for you to see how we have done. And we remain rather consistent when you look at these data in grade 8 ELA. In grade 9, you'll see that 2019 for exceeding expectations, in 2018 for not meeting were a little bit of aberrations for us, with no students showing up in either one of those categories, but the super majority of our students are meeting or partially meeting expectations. Grade 7 ELA, same thing. And again, I'm going to just give each of these slides 5 seconds or so for you to examine if there is something that is jumping out at me or you that I feel like you should know. I'll pause to reflect on that. It should be obvious if it's not. Mathematics is an area in need of attention for us, and that is one, again, that we are focusing on as a district administration team. So those data, again, will be available for the public and then the committee and anyone else who wants to access them, take a look. Again, these and all of these data points and all of this information are available on DESE's website. They are publicly available data. Feel free to explore them. What I can tell you before Mr. Martinook and Mr. Briganti talk about the data is that these data have been shared with faculty members, and they've begun the process of exploring down to the student level how we can best meet the needs of students and improve performance for them and set them on the track for success.
The other thing I want to point out, if you go back, I think the nice thing that we had that maybe other districts didn't have is, I think we should also appreciate the fact that we had 100% participation rate.
This is true.
And I guarantee you that most districts did not.
That's
have
true.
that.
That's a great point. And if you look historically, with limited exception, this year, we had just about 100% in many areas. Thank you for pointing that out. School nutrition update. This is the talk of the country right now. Those of you who are placing orders for things online are probably feeling that pinch, and you can imagine what Lori Goodfellow is feeling as she tries to order food and supplies to make sure that we can feed our students and staff as appropriate. In fact, in today's commissioner update that went out, the commissioner mentions the challenges associated with feeding our students and the supply disruption to supply chains. I did send a letter home to families last week, reminding them to be patient with us, please. We are doing the best that we can. Again, it's not a local issue; it's a national one. We're all facing the same challenges. We are doing the best to make on-the-fly adjustments to menus. You may see some repetition in menus that you're not accustomed to. That's not out of our because it's our first priority or desire, but we need to make sure that we're able to put food in the mouths of our students. And so I appreciate all the patience that goes along with that. That is not me encouraging families to send students in with their own meals, but you are always welcome to do that if you wish. But I compliment to Lori and her staff for doing everything that they can to make sure the kids are having a healthy, nutritious meal that tastes good. And of course, a reminder, all school meals this year, once again, are free regardless of income status. Staffing needs. So I talked in the personnel update about losing a couple of food service staff. They're on the list here of places where we have needs, but substitute teachers and paraprofessionals are on there as well. If there is anyone in the community who's looking to work in schools and join what I think is a pretty high functioning team and work with students and put a smile on their face, whether you're bringing them to school, dropping them off, or working in a classroom with them or serving them meals, you're encouraged to apply, and we welcome applicants for any of or all these positions. If you're interested in driving a bus, you need to do that through DO4. But the other positions that are listed here, you can apply through the superintendent's office here at the Lee Public Schools. Maybe two more slides here. One is a little play on words for your consideration and a preview of new business. Jen Carlino, a phys ed teacher at LES, is going to talk to you a little while about bringing golf in schools curriculum to students. She has been in contact with the Northeastern New York PGA to talk about bringing a program that they run about bringing golf in schools to LES. There is a cost associated with that. It's a one-time cost of between $2,500 and $2,700, but the NNYPGA picks up more than half of the overall cost. So it's normally about a $6,000 investment. They're willing to pay for a little more than half. And it's a program that we'd be able to invest that would bring students onto the courses and familiarize themselves with golf. And I can tell you that We want to develop some interested golfers because you maybe recall me talking at the beginning of the year when we talked about golf. We need golfers on our golf team. So if we could start them off in early years and get them moved along, I think it'd be great. And that is the end of the superintendent's report for tonight. I will put this back and I'll stop the share for now and see if there may be any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Anybody? Aaron or Andrea, questions? Nope. All right. Thank you very much, Mike.
You're welcome.
All right, we are moving on to the principals and directors report. So up first is Tim Mertnup from the elementary school.
Hey, everybody. At LES, we held our annual open house last month. It was very well attended, and I've received positive feedback from both families and faculty. We kept it pretty simple this year, as this was our first open house since 2019. Some extracurricular clubs began this month, including the Geography Club, Robotics, Student Newspaper, and the Art Club. IS 183 is also set to begin their art program this week. Trooper Chad Tada from the Massachusetts State Police and his comfort dog Luna held an assembly for the 6th grade class in mid-September to share how the Massachusetts State Police uses comfort dogs in their work. This was part of the research portion of an informative essay that students are writing in that grade. Our first walk to school occurred Wednesday, October 6th. There were 130 students who participated, as well as Representative Pignatelli, Superintendent Richard, school committee members, Lee Police Department officers, Lee Fire Department members, Lee Ambulance Service members. Next month, members of the Kiwanis Club will be participating in this walk, and there will be a can drive associated with it to provide food for families that are food insecure. Thanks to Jen Carlino, Julia Warner, and Lori Curtin for all the hard work that they did to organize this monthly event. LES is also partnering with Kiwanis Club this year to help provide food weekly for LES families that are food insecure. And on the food theme, the community garden located on campus has yielded a lot of fresh produce from last summer all the way through this fall, much of which was donated to the local food pantry here in Lee. Special thanks to Paula Duhan and several volunteers who planted and maintained this garden. It was a lot of hard work, but worth it. MCAS scores were mailed home last week to parents of all students who tested last spring. A summary of the results can be found right here. Would you like me to share my screen while I do this?
That'd be great.
I don't think I have the ability to do. Let me try. Yeah, Superintendent Richard, you'll have to allow me to share my screen.
Try again now, Tim.
Sure. There we go. Everybody see that? Okay. So here are some highlights. I've got some state percentages on the top. I've got some LES percentages below that for each grade. You'll notice that it's ELA for grades 3, math for grade 3, ELA 4, math 4, ELA 5, math 5. Then we have science 5, ELA 6, and then math 6. And when you look at this data, some highlights that I put right here. We exceeded the state averages in meeting or exceeding expectations in ELA 3 with 53% to 51%, math 5 with 38 to 33%, science 5, 47 to 42%. We had fewer not meeting expectations than the state in ELA 3, 2% compared to 10, math 3, 25% compared to 26, ELA 4, 6% compared to 13, and math 5, 15% to 20%, and then science 5, 15% to 19%. So there's some positives there for sure. Where we need some work, we were lower than the state averages in meeting or exceeding expectations in math 3, 25% compared to 33%, ELA 4, 46% compared to 49%, math 4, 13% compared to 33%, ELA 5, 36% compared to 47, ELA 6, 30% compared to 47, ELA 6, sorry, that's a repeat, math 26% to 33%. And we had more not meeting expectations than the state in math 4, 27 to 24%, ELA 5, 13 to 12%, ELA 6, 30 to 22%, and math 6, 26 to 23%. So there are some highlights. There are some good things to to build upon moving forward, but there's definitely some room for improvement here. And I just want to share a little bit about how we're going to address some of the concerns in terms of those lower scores. We're going to take a whole child approach. We intend to address these concerns from several angles, including classroom teaching, interventions, student behavior, attendance, and student wellness. And we're going to do that by holding grade level meetings to review these data and identify trends in areas where there might be gaps grade wide, as well as review individual students' data to help target instruction. We'll be giving faculty an opportunity to collaborate and share ways that they are successfully differentiating instruction as a tier 1 intervention, both vertically and horizontally. We will be continuing to utilize the school adjustment counselors, dean of students, and other support personnel for students of concern. We will be continuing to monitor student attendance and work closely with families. We will be continuing to support students who need to eat breakfast at school. And on that point, it's really hard for a student to access the curriculum if they're not here, obviously, and if they're hungry. So by focusing on attendance and by focusing on that wellness piece and by identifying students of concern and utilizing those resources we have available to us, I believe that that's going to make an impact in terms of the learning that occurs in a classroom, which then should translate into increased scores. We'll also be utilizing our recently upgraded progress monitoring software in grades K through 6. This should help us better identify those students who need interventions, as well as create response to intervention or RTI groups that students can move fluidly to and from depending on need. We will be reviewing how our RTI model is working at each grade level and to see where there could be improvements. There's currently work underway to improve RTI at all grade levels, including utilizing the progress monitoring software to create leveled RTI groups, utilizing the recommended supports that this upgraded software identifies for individual students, and scheduling interventionists so that they are in classrooms providing direct supports for students that need it. We will also be continuing to create, build, and maintain a positive behavior and interventions and support structure in grades 2 through 6. This helps encourage positive behavior, which then translates into more time on learning within the classroom. And we're going to continue our commitment to DESE's Accelerated Learning Initiative by keeping instruction at grade level while also providing scaffolded supports for students that need it. Again, our approach is going to be whole child. There's definitely a need to review scores. There's definitely a need to review individual standards. There's definitely, a need to look at what teachers are doing and how they're doing it. But our whole child approach is going to come at it from several different angles. And my hope is that we, increase these scores and provide a better learning environment within each classroom.
Thanks, Tim.
No problem.
Questions for Tim? All right. You have anything else you want to share?
May I add just one more thing?
Of course.
There are 2 students from LES that messaged me. They weren't able to, they weren't sure how to raise their hand during that initial public input time. I just wanted to share that with you, that there are 2 students from LES that missed that opportunity because they weren't sure how to go about, doing that.
About how to do public comment. Yeah.
It was during the public comment. They messaged me asking when can we, because they want to share, I wasn't aware, I wasn't sure what, they were going to share, but they said they wanted to share something during that time. And I just wanted to share with you guys that they had messaged that to me.
You want to help with that, Andrea?
Yes, please.
So the chair can rearrange the agenda
Yeah.
and revisit public comment. At
Okay.
that time, I'd recommend that Kathy Hall says her comment about whatever sport she was going to say, because
Okay.
when that discussion happens, that's at board level, unless
Okay.
you're going to open it up to everyone.
Okay, so then I think we should reopen public comment. Do we need to do the whole spiel about public comment like we do? No, we can just say.
So I
we're-
would call for, if you want it to be like super like enforcing of it, just call for a motion and let one of the members say, I make a motion, we revert back to public comment and open it back up. Someone will second it. It's all done.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion to revert back to public comment?
I'll make a motion to revert back to public comments. A second.
Any discussion? All right, can we have a roll call? Sorry.
Mr. Ogden,
yes,
Mr. Kenneth,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Ms. Larmen.
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Strickler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to provide instruction on that?
Yes, so I saw Olivia. I don't know where she went. Olivia, I saw your hand up. There she is. What's up? Go ahead, Olivia.
Hello. My video won't start, but
Can hear you, honey. Go ahead.
thank you. Hi, my name is Olivia Wiley, and I have I have Miranda Smith somewhere in here that's with me. And and we have a concern about mask wearing. Miranda, would you like to start?
Yeah. So my concern is like more in physical activity, like gym class more. So me and Olivia have been doing a lot of research, and we found that it really restricts your airflow, and it's very bad. And sometimes you could have like serious medical problems from it.
Yes, and a normal kid my age, which is 11 to 12 years old, breathes in 20 parts per million oxygen, and it's very dangerous to go below 19.5 parts per million oxygen breathing in, and you can pass out, go unconscious, like all sorts of things along the lines when you go below that. And when you have a normal mask on, it restricts airflow, like Miranda said, so it goes below 19.5 parts per million and is dangerous to human health. So it kind of concerns us, for at least in gym class when we're moving around very actively. It restricting airflow, so air doesn't circulate around your body, so it really restricts you. And along with, I took a survey among 6th grade because I couldn't reach any other grade, and all of them said they have really trouble in gym class, and like running up from recess and just trying to focus in class in general. And I think if we go on like this, it really is just gonna disable our learning, which is what school's all about.
Okay. Thank you, Olivia and Miranda, for speaking. And Kathy Hall, would you like to ask your question about golf now?
Yeah, it really wasn't a question. I'm just, I would encourage us to really look into developing a golf program. I did attend a golf match, Lee and Lennox, earlier this season, and it was so sad to just see such a few students from Lee playing against this whole barrage of Lennox players. But they did a good job, and they stood in there and fought the good fight. So I'm just thrilled that there is a possibility of having something happening about golf. And also, I have been spinning my wheels about the other sports as well. Boys soccer, in particular lacrosse, that now has to work with Lennox instead of us having the majority of kids in Lee, that type of thing, to bring that forth to the Lee Youth Commission to see how we can generate interest of students, but also encourage adults in the community to come forward and coach these children. I know we have them for the very, small groups, but to encourage older students, fifth and sixth grade, before they can enter, seventh and eighth grade on the Lee Middle and High School agenda, to just get our children involved. They need to get away from their technology stuff, their radios and stuff after school, and need to get out in that good old fresh air or inside. I love what Olivia and Miranda said about having those masks when you're inside a gym class. I agree with them 150%. So let's just try to find a way to get these children involved and go forward with the golf program. I love it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Okay. I think next up on our agenda is Greg Briganti with the middle and high school.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me. I have a few things to go over here on my report, and then we'll talk a little bit about our MCAS results from LMHS. Since last month's school committee meeting, several events have occurred. We did hold, like LES did, our open house on Thursday, September 16th. It was our first open house since 2019. And while I would say that while attendance might have been down slightly compared to those previous years in 2019 and before, I think to some degree that was expected given the pandemic. We still had good attendance and lots of parents coming in to meet their teachers and check out the school. The Shakespeare Fall Festival is on. Our school will be presenting Romeo and Juliet this year, and that will happen at LMHS on Friday, November 12th and Saturday, November 13th at 7 p.m. Both of those will be in the auditorium. In the next week, we're not sure of the date and time yet, but the performance will occur at Shakespeare and Company as part of the Fall Festival. So we're very excited to have that, have Shakespeare back in play after, again, since 2019. I had the privilege a couple weeks ago to meet with alumnus and entertainer Kevin Bartini, who's actually also a cousin of mine, but that's not unusual here in Lee, who has started a nonprofit organization to raise funds for local community organizations, including our booster clubs and other school programs. Kevin and his colleagues are planning a series of events held at various venues in the area, including our auditorium. It's great to see this interest on Kevin and his partners' behalf and giving back to his former school and community. More information will be coming soon. I believe his first one will be benefiting the Housatonic River Initiative coming up on November 6th. First quarter progress reports were issued for LMHS students last weekend, actually 2 weekends ago now. I wrote this on Thursday. The new Focus student information system allowed us to email those progress reports directly to every student and every parent. And it was the click of a button, they went off. This was not something we were able to do under our old system, so that is great. They're also posted online in the parent and student portals, so they can be checked there at any point in time. It's hard to believe, but in a short 2.5 weeks, quarter one closes on Friday, October 29th at 3 p.m. Superintendent Richard, Facilities Director Meyer, and I met with a consultant regarding the status of our gymnasium bleachers a couple weeks ago. Due to various code issues, it's very likely that we will need to replace those bleachers in the near term. The consultant is working up some cost estimates for our use. It is not going to be cheap to replace those bleachers, as you might imagine. But we'll be back in the near future with some more information on what that project will entail and what it might cost as we begin planning for it. Our first indoor dance in 2 years is scheduled for this Saturday. The junior class is the sponsor of this high school homecoming dance and has done an excellent job of proposing health safety plans that were screened by Tri-Town Health and approved so that we could hold the dance. We look forward to another step forward on our safe return to more normalcy for our students, and there seems to be a great deal of interest so far in attending this dance on Saturday evening. Excuse me. The National Honor Society induction ceremony is scheduled for Thursday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. The selection process, including interviews by the faculty council, is ongoing. I'll be sure next month to recognize those new inductees into the Honor Society. One thing that I was not able to get on my written report is that the Social Justice Club was able to raise over $1,000 for the Elizabeth Freeman Center through the Rise Together for Safety and Justice event, which was a walk, and you got sponsored to participate in that walk. These funds go towards support services for survivors of sexual and domestic abuse in Berkshire County. So very great job by the Social Justice Club for that, over $1,000, literally for just walking a little bit downtown. MCAS score reports were mailed home to parents of all students who tested last spring. They should have been received now. They went out early last week. And with that, I'm going to share my screen. And okay, is that good? So much like Tim's summary, the top part here is a summary of our scores from last year in each tested subject and grade level. The top part in blue were the state averages in percentages for each proficiency level. And you can see the key down below, E is exceeding expectations, M is meeting expectations, PM partially meeting expectations, and NM not meeting expectations. There is one exception to those codes, which is the biology test in grade 9. That was a legacy old style MCAS test still last year. So those proficiency levels are a little different. A is for advanced, P is for proficient, NI is for needs improvement, F is for failed. Down below that in the orange are LMHS's results, okay? Not shown on that grid there were 11 students in grade 11 who 11 and 11 who voluntarily took the legacy MCAS ELA 10 and Math 10 tests last year. It was not required. You may remember those students, MCAS was waived for them the year before due to COVID. These students signed up for it for one of two or maybe both purposes, either for eligibility for the John and Abigail Adams scholarships, or eligibility for the Seal of Biliteracy tests. So both of those could be reasons. And the great news there is all 11 students in grade 11 who took those scored advanced in all, in both subjects, ELA and math. At the bottom of the Lee orange section of the test, you see a line called CD not met. This is something that you don't have in elementary school or middle school, but we do in high school. And the CD stands for the state's competency determination. And what that is the requirement to pass or at least achieve certain scores in MCAS in order to receive a diploma upon graduation. So you'll see that in biology this year, 8 students did not meet that competency determination. In ELA, 2 students did not. And in math, 7 students did not meet those competency determinations. Those numbers are a little higher than we historically have seen, just as some of the other trends with last year across the grade levels showed a lowering of our scores. Again, not necessarily unexpected due to the pandemic. Some highlights.
Hey, Greg,
Yes.
are any of those students the same students?
So it would only be 10, ELA 10 and Math 10 who could be the same. There is, I believe, one of them is the same student.
Thank you.
One student has to retake both ELA and Math. A few highlights from that data. The green are some positive things. We exceeded state averages in meet or exceed in ELA 7, Math 7, ELA 8, and ELA 10. Okay, so our students performed better in those grade levels and subject areas than the state average. We had fewer not meeting scores than the state in ELA 7, ELA 8, Math 8, Science 8, and ELA 10. So again, that's if you're comparing our students' performance to the state averages, you want to see us have fewer students in the not meeting expectations category. And in those grade levels and subject areas, we did see that. Some easy areas of concern that certainly pop out with a quick look at that high-level data there is that we were lower than the state averages in meet or exceed in math, in biology, Math 8, biology, and Math 10. Although the Math 10 was pretty close there. And we had more not meeting scores than the state in Math 7. So again, you'd like to have fewer students percentage-wise in the not meeting expectations category. We had one grade level, one subject where that was not the case, and that was Math in grade 7. High school students who did not meet the competency determination graduation requirement will retest in November for ELA and Math, and in February for biology. We are looking at a whole bunch of data at the department level right now. We are analyzing the data by student and by standard to determine what, if any, adjustments may need to be made to the curriculum moving forward. This is a bit more difficult this year for a couple of reasons. Students in grades 7 and 8 only took half of a test last year. They took one session instead of 2 in each subject area in middle school. So there's less data actually there for each standard than we normally would have had. We also have an understanding that, we knew going in that this was certainly going to be a year where the results overall were lower due to the pandemic. But that doesn't mean we still don't look to see what we can do moving forward if there's anything that comes up with us. One thing we did notice that we had a lot of kids on the line. And what I mean by on the line, if you look at these, and you can't see the numbers of kids here, but we had a lot of kids, for example, if you looked at the difference between partially meeting and meeting expectations at a grade level, we had a lot of kids who were at the top part of the partially meeting scale. And, one question is, how could we have gotten them up above that line? Okay. Likewise, we see the same trend between not meeting expectations and partially meeting expectations. We tend to see our kids grouping at the top part of that line. So what can we do to get them above that line? I'm super interested in that at the top level between meeting expectations and exceeding expectations. Because I do think that, and historically we have seen that our numbers of students in exceeding expectations is much higher than what we saw last year. But again, we want to look at that data at a student level and at a standard level to try to determine what we can do to get up there. One of the things, obviously, that we are very excited about is the starting of our math interventionist position, and he started today. This has been something that we have not had at the middle and high school level ever, that I'm aware of, certainly in my 8 years, and I know for several years before that. So that is being paid by a special education grant this year. And we did include both that and a reading interventionist in the ESSER 3 grant, so that hopefully for the next 2 years, we'll have those supports to help students get where we want them to be as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you tracking these similar to to Mr. Richard, year over year. The biology in particular is troubling to me. And I'm just wondering how that looks year over year compared to at least last year.
So we are looking at year over year comparisons, although frankly, I'm not sure there's much validity in comparing 2019 to 2021. There was just too much there, but we are looking at historical trends overall. Last week I attended an English department meeting and a science department meeting, and part of the conversation at those department meetings was looking historically at what was going on in science, particularly in 8th grade in biology. And one thing that really jumped out at us in both the science 8 and the biology 9, one of our lowest scoring areas historically has been body systems. That is not something that is actually in the 9th grade biology curriculum. And it's something that if you've seen the middle school science standards, they are so broad in grades 6, 7, and 8, when all 3 of those grade levels are tested in grade 8. There's so much stuff there that it's really hard to get to it all. So we were talking about other ways that we could get to body systems, because that, again, historically has been one of our biggest negative comparisons when you look at the standards, state versus us on MCAS. So we were brainstorming some pretty interesting ideas about how we could bring body systems back into middle school and before they get to 9th grade. So that's just one example. Those conversations of historical trends certainly are continuing. Now, one interesting thing that we're going to see this year, biology last year was a legacy test. It was the old MCAS 1.0. And starting this year, it's going to be the new online MCAS 2 in biology. So there's going to be a shift there in the standards that are being measured as well. So we're trying to plan for that at the same time as looking at these historical trends and performance on the MCAS 1.0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One other thing I did, and I like to do this every year, I don't know, I guess I don't have much of a life, is go on the state website and look at our other districts in Berkshire County and just kind of eyeball how we're doing compared to them. It's nice to look at the state average, and I think there's some meaningful data there. But I also like to see how are we doing in comparison to our local schools and school districts as far as MCAS goes. And you're not supposed to compare schools with MCAS results, even though, of course, the papers do it all the time. But, you know, locally here in Berkshire County, this year in 2021, we actually compared pretty much at the same or slightly better than most of our other districts in Berkshire County and most of the middle and high schools in Berkshire County. I only mention that because I think it's worth mentioning. There's more than just the statewide average to take a look at. You can look out here. There's certainly a couple outlier districts in Berkshire County that really always every year have incredible results in MCAS, and there's debate over reasons for that, but overall we look pretty much on or slightly above most of the other schools in the county in terms of our MCAS last year. That being said, we're not thrilled with them, and we want to use that data to help students perform better moving forward. So I'll certainly take any questions if anybody has any.
I don't have any questions. I just have comments. I just want to say I so appreciate both principals, the data, and more importantly than the share out of the data, the action steps and the plan moving forward. I felt like it was very thorough, and I appreciate all of the different strategies and things we're going to do, analyzing by standard, the collaborative planning time with the teachers, the departments. I just am really impressed and pleased that not only are we looking at the data, but that we have a plan and action steps moving forward to drive our instruction even further. So thank you both. That was great.
I agree. Anybody else have questions? Oops, sorry. It flipped and it made me like, whoo. Andrea and Aaron? Questions?
I don't have a question but a comment, but I'd like to say thank you both principals for the presentation on MCAS and see how we're doing and in presenting on where we need to improve. I think that's very good in the plans. And I like to say the open house at the elementary school was awesome. It was great to see my son running, the one kid running around the school, showing me everything. And, he missed, we missed the open house for kindergarten. And that was like a big deal for us. But going in during open house, meeting the teachers, seeing my kid, seeing his friends was great. I really appreciate that and all the hard work you put in there. And with the MCAS and the MCAS plan, how to fix. That's a great. Keep up.
Thanks, Aaron.
I just want to add to ditto to everything Aaron just said. Also, I'm a big supporter of the MCAS last year. I know that was something that was hard to do, but it gave us a benchmark. And I think going forward, it'll help solidify every request we make for student achievement and student engagement and quality education. So while that was a painful test, and I'm sure it was hard to put those results out, it only goes up from here. And I believe our students will have huge growth numbers. So that'll be interesting to see again how Lee's growth numbers come in. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for your leadership in the buildings.
Thanks. Okay,
Can I?
yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean
That's
to
okay, go
interrupt, but this is a great opportunity before we move on to Jen Norton's special education presentation. If I could just say two things. One is I'll be very anxious to see how the work that's being done at Lee Middle and High School around project-based learning has an impact on our performance on standardized testing. I think that there's going to be some great opportunities for real world application for students to be able to process the information that they're learning and put it to good use. The second thing is I'm glad that I've heard the word appreciation from Ms. Kishore, from Mr. Robin, from Ms. Wadsworth, from Ms. Larman, and I know I didn't hear that word specifically from the other three members, but I can read their minds right now. And I think there's a great opportunity for us as a committee, or for you as a committee rather, to recognize Mr. Martinook and Mr. Briganti. October is National Principals Appreciation Month, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Larman now. I think she's got, while they're not here in person, Tim and Greg.
So, as Randy is holding these up, we have two certificates for certificates of appreciation from Lee Public Schools for Timothy Martineau and for Greg Briganti, to thank you for all of the hard work that you have done in part. So the certificate reads that the Lee Public Schools recognizes you both for imparting valuable insights and inspiration to the students, staff, parents, and community members of our districts. So thank you both for all of the hard work and dedication that you have given to our district. And Mike will pass these on to you tomorrow. So thank you. All right. Next thing on our agenda is special education with Jen Norton.
Hi, everyone. I'm not going to turn my camera on only because my router is dead. I'm actually hooked through my phone, so I don't want to lose everything by turning on my video. A lot of what we've been working on in special education right now really is kind of very in sync with the two principals. Today, we had the MCAS alternate assessment update for administrators. So there are a few students throughout the district that are unable to take MCAS in the traditional sense. So we do portfolios with those students. And today was it's been an hour and a half for administrators, which I've sent those on to the building principals because obviously MCAS falls under them, but anything special education related comes under me. So it's just a way for us to look and see, are they expecting anything different? When will the due dates be? You know, although COVID impacted everything, I have to say MCAS alternate assessments were not as impacted because, fortunately, these portfolios for these particular students are done throughout the year. So it's a little bit different. The state is really talking about wanting 1% or less of a school district to be doing, students to be doing MCAS alternate assessments. In Lee, we are below that number. We are very cognizant. We use the decision-making tool that DESE has put out to determine if and when a child should or should not be doing different forms of assessment. And we really are very thoughtful about that. So when children hit third grade and all the way up until they're done with their MCAS requirements, we discuss that annually. So Lee is well within the averages, and that is just okay. Individually, guarantee ways and on students we have at the time. But for the moment, we are below what they are expecting, which is great. Those assessments will be due in the spring, just like most of our normal MCAS happens in the spring, with some of the retakes happening in November. But our several teachers that are working on them are already collecting data and taking a few half professional days throughout the year to work together. And it's quite the process, which I'm sure Ms. Larman could attest to, of putting them together. And they have to cover each of the strands in each of the academic areas that a student is being tested in annually. So it's quite a feat, and it's a lot on the children and the families and the teachers, but they really do come together and do a great job. There's that piece. The state is also really pushing to make sure that each team is using the determination tool, the decision-making tool for MCAS alts for any student that might be in that kind of gray category if we're not sure whether or not they should be doing that. So I have sent that out to all of the liaisons. I do it annually, but I did send it out again today, just as a reminder that at every meeting where we're discussing MCAS, that this should be the tool that's being used to determine if a student just needs accommodations or if we need to look at anything alternate. That's all I have for MCAS, unless there's any specific questions for me. The other two things that I have is I just confirmed tonight that we have another full PD day for all of the paraprofessionals within the school district. It is with Renee Hadfield from the Collaborative. She did 2 shorter days when we first started school in August. She saw the elementary staff and then the high school staff for about an hour and a half each. And she will be here all day on November 2nd with all of the paraprofessionals, minus a couple who have to complete some other training. But so there'll be about 35 paraprofessionals at that training. So that'll be wonderful. They really enjoyed her when she was here, and they will be able to give us some input on what they would like the training day to be about. And she's kind of very energetic, and if any school committee member had any questions, I'm sure she would love to talk to you. She's a pretty enigmatic person and is a lot of fun to talk to, and really kind of re-energizes you in how you feel about education. So I'm glad that we have her, and I would encourage, if anybody happens to be around, that you're welcome to pop in on November 2nd. She's a great lady. And we also got notice this week or late last week that we have been approved the Title III consortium that we are a part of for about, I think there's 12 school districts that are actually part of it. The Collaborative actually does the larger Title III funding. Ms. Wadsworth actually was responsible for getting us to be part of the consortium a few years back. We got the funding assigned to Lee, and we're about $4,700 this year. And the bulk of that is used for our summer tutor. We actually have a summer tutoring program for 4 weeks for our elementary age ELL students. And we're hoping to maybe expand that to the middle and high school. We haven't had as much interest at that level, but we're hoping we might be able to do maybe some peer mentoring with some of those older students and come in, even if it's 1 or 2 days a week. So we're working on that. Carrie Heck and Andy Clark are working very closely with me for that this year. And that's all the updates I have currently, unless there's any questions for me.
Any questions for Jen? I think that's all fantastic news. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing. Okay, and last but not least, we have Jordan, nope, I lied. We do not have Jordan Meyer Facilities. Mike is shaking his head no at us. So we will move on to our next agenda item, which is our committee reports. So first up, we have our finance committee with Randy.
Yep, earlier this evening, the finance subcommittee met to go over the two warrants. And the first warrant, which was accepted and approved by the finance subcommittee, was for $177,919.55. And as you can see on the screen, on the right-hand side are some explanations of some detail of where these funds are coming from, or these payables are coming from. Due for at $22,556, and another due for $10,490. And Worth Avenue, which is fixing and getting new Chromebooks, as I was informed earlier, just about $9,450. And then on the second line item, Valley Educational Tuition, Renaissance Learning, and another one for Valley Educational Tuition as well. And that get us to the $177,919.55.
And, okay.
Well, if I could, very quickly, so I apologize for I just saw it now, the typo in Valley Educational. That's truly unacceptable for me. I'm sorry. That's my fault. But the Worth Avenue Chromebook insurance, for a little bit of clarity around that is so that we can ensure that students are able to process claims if they break their Chromebooks, crack a screen, whatever, that those students now are bringing those Chromebooks back and forth to school, grades 5 to 12. And we know that there can be some damage done to those devices. So that's an investment to protect those devices and for families as well. So that was the cost of the bill. That was that bill was backfilled basically by insurance payments that were made by the families at $25 a piece.
Okay. All right. I will entertain a motion for the accounts payable.
I make a motion to accept the accounts payable warrant, a total of $177,919.55.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Brenda, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Aubin,
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Ms. Larmen,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Strickler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, the second item on the warrants was the payroll. The total amount for payroll was $590,776.98. And as you can see on the screen, there is detail explaining where this is coming from.
This is,
Say, Mike?
no, there's nothing extraordinary about this.
All right, so I will entertain a motion for payroll.
A motion to accept the payroll warrant in the amount of $590,776.98.
Second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Brenda, can I trouble you again?
Okay, so do I have Ms. Strickler and Mr. Aubin and seconding it, or do I grab the first?
He can have it.
Aaron can have it. We're giving it to Aaron.
So
We're sharing the second wealth here.
All right, Mr. Aubin,
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth,
yes.
Ms. Kushar,
Yes.
Ms. Larmen,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Strickler,
Yes.
and Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Okay. That's okay. Okay, next up is our shared services subcommittee. Who's that?
I think that's Mrs. Wadsworth and Mr. Nichols, if I remember correctly, but I'll be honest, I don't know that there's any further update from the last time that
No
we,
more updates?
that's
Are we
correct,
good?
unless, I don't know if Andrea wants to weigh in on that, but I don't think,
Andrew's saying
No, I think it's Kurt's the chair, and I didn't think we met again. So Kirk, I defer to you.
I have nothing to update. I know we're still waiting. I was waiting to hear back from Lennox and other districts about our food
That's it.
service. That's it.
Then that's fine. That's our update. We're
We're-
still waiting.
we're
That's our
moving.
update.
Okay,
I like it. Good update.
we did, Andrea.
Short, sweet, perfect, like it, perfect. We have no old business to go over, so I am going to move on to new business. So the first thing on our new business is the Lee Elementary stage declaration of surplus. Who's addressing that?
I will. So Lee Elementary School was outfitted with a rather large stage. I guess this would be 20 years ago. And that stage has not served much utility for the building. There have been, from my understanding, multiple attempts to perhaps, for lack of a better term, pawn this stage off to others, and those attempts were failed. Currently, that stage is stored in one of the storage containers that we acquired when we emptied out much of the furniture from the schools for distancing purposes. And at this point, and I welcome Mr. Martinook in on the conversation if that's okay, but at this point, the utility of that stage is very, very minimal. And we are looking to the committee for permission to declare it surplus and dispose of it accordingly because we don't see the need to put it back into the gymnasium. We instead see a need to utilize that space to its maximum abilities right now. And I don't know, again, if Tim has anything, if it's okay, if Tim has anything to offer in addition.
Andrea's got her hand raised. Go ahead, Andrea.
I can wait till Tim goes. I might not have a question.
I just wanted to share that in my 21 years in this district, I don't think I've ever seen that stage fully utilized. But as dean of students, there were many kids that I had to crawl under the stage to try to extract. So it wasn't a very safe, piece of furniture, equipment, whatever we want to call it. And it also takes up a lot of room in the cafeteria. And we are trying to use every square inch of that cafeteria. I know we did a walkthrough with a couple, 3 school committee members recently, and you could see that there is no room to add a full stage there and have us still maintain, the distancing we're trying to have. My 2 cents.
Thanks, Tim. Go ahead, Andrea.
So just to ask, so this is one of my things. Things anytime when we buy something, it becomes something that the district owns and is bought with taxpayer dollars. So whether it has value or not, I would just really implore that we follow 30B when we dispose of this, and we offer it. We follow actually the parameters set in the law and send in the proper paperwork to the state, and then offer it to nonprofits before we actually just throw it away. Our sister districts have been known to throw things away because you're just getting rid of it, and whether we vote or not, and then they end up in the newspaper with this stuff in a dumpster and a picture of it because it wasn't disposed of and offered to the community. So I just suggest that as a little bit of caution on the political side to make sure we dispose of it in the way 30B regulations state.
Can I just ask a question? The 30B, is there a price benchmark, like if it's $5 or $50?
Sure. Yep, it's under 10,000, which this won't make it, but sometimes it doesn't matter if it's either a box of pencils. If all you need is one person who sees that in the dumpster, it's their dollars that paid for that, and it's best to follow the process. But again, I defer to the committee. If the committee doesn't, you can institute better parameters than 30B. But you also don't have to. I'm going to go on record that I think we should always follow the best practice, which is I'm looking at an email right now that someone sent something about desks. And does anyone want a desk? And it went across the state, and there's a listserv, and we could put it there just for the due diligence of it.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think that, when we've gotten rid of stuff in the past and stuff has ended up in the dumpster, there's been complaints. But I would also like to, back Tim up on the kids crawling underneath the stage thing, because in my time at the school, I have also had to, climb under the stage to, deal with kids, to extract kids. And my experience, so my kids have been through the district. My son is going to be 26 next week. Jack's coming home on Friday, by the way. We're extricating him from Canada for a couple months. Twice in the entire time that he has been in the district, did they use the stage, and that was only while they were redoing the Z. And I think that's the only time that stage got used. Mostly it's been used for storage. It was used for lost and found. Mostly it was the lost and found storage. And it was where people sat while kids were eating lunch. That's where the adults sat while the kids were eating lunch. That was about it. So I would absolutely agree that we can better use that space. But I agree with Andrea Wadsworth that I think we should do it by the book, and see if any other entity wants it, like the place that took over the church down on.
College internship program.
Is that who
That-
took over the church there?
Mhm.
Is that they've got a theater program or something
Yeah.
down
My
there?
husband's the assistant director, and I bet they would love it.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I was thinking too,
Do the paperwork and send it.
yeah,
But there are-
regardless of the politics.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
CIP is a for-profit.
Oh, nonprofit.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But regardless of politics, I think it's important to follow process.
let's follow
and
the process. Yes. Okay.
If there are people who are in need of something.
Okay.
So
So I think what we need, and I'm looking to you, Andrew, to give me a yay or nay. I think what we need is a motion to declare it surplus and follow the 30B procedure. Correct?
Yes. Yep, that's what you need.
So-
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Any discussion? I'm just waiting for Brenda to finish writing it. No, you do what you gotta do, and then we'll wait for your roll call. Okay. Can you roll call? Seth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Auden,
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth,
Yes.
Mrs. Kushar,
Yes.
Ms. Larmen,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Strickler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Okay. And next up, under new business, is golf in the schools. So.
So I gave a
I
little,
see her. She's there, she's ready.
and I gave a little bit of an introduction. I hope I didn't steal Mrs. Carlino's thunder, but I did ask her to present it. She brought this idea to me a few weeks ago, and I asked her to be prepared to talk about it with the committee. I want to go on record and say that I do support her request for whatever that may be worth, but I thought it was important for you to hear from the teacher directly about what it is that Mrs. Carlino and Mrs. Warner are hoping to achieve at LES.
Thank you, Superintendent Richard. So just a little background about how we got to this point right now is working on the strategic plan and looking at programming. We always like to look at what we can offer to our students, both in school and out of school. We always love to try and go with ideally things that are no cost to the district at all. We have a martial arts studio that comes in every year and does a couple classes. They don't charge us anything to do that. However, this is a unique program in that it involves instruction and equipment that we would need to do this. And we don't have the equipment, nor do we know how to teach it yet. So if we were to move forward with this program, we would get equipment that would be enough for 50 students, which is more than enough. I think our biggest class is 38 right now, as well as 2 weeks of instruction from a PGA professional who would come into the school, and it would be kind of a teach the teacher idea. He or she would have a curriculum that they would follow, and they would teach along with Julia and I, and we would teach with them and essentially learn how to teach this in the coming years. So after this year, where the PGA professional came in with all the equipment, in subsequent years, we would be able to then have all the equipment at school, and we would know how to teach the curriculum from the instruction that we were given over the 2 weeks. And like Superintendent Richard said, I have been in contact with the Northeast New York branch of the PGA, and they did tell me that they have some funding that they would have available to help us start this program. The initial investment, or the only investment, is $6,500. And she estimated our cost would be about $2,500 to $2,700. So they're picking up a good portion of this for us. They said they wish they could do the whole thing, but they're relatively new with this program, with their golf in schools program. We, I believe, would be the first school in Berkshire County to offer this, which would be kind of a cool thing. We feel like golf is a great lifelong activity, and we try during the school year to teach all different things to students. And we really love to find things that they can do not only while they're in elementary school, middle school, high school, but also well after they're done with their schooling. And golf is a really great sport, much like tennis, where at any age they can go and do this. It also teaches sportsmanship, integrity, it allows for social interaction, and it aligns with our curriculum and our standards for the state of Massachusetts. So we would think it would be a really great thing for our students to be exposed to. I know a lot of students have no experience with golf, and we're hoping that we can give them some exposure to this sport, and that hopefully it would get them interested in it. And I've also been in contact with Greenock Country Club, who has a really great junior membership cost that a lot of people don't know about, but it's really inexpensive, and they would be willing to maybe do some free like junior clinics and lessons over the summer as well, to try and help get some more interest in what we think is a really great sport. So that's our request. Julia would be here. She has volleyball tonight, so I'm speaking on her behalf as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Anybody have any questions for Julia?
So I'm just curious about the Northeast New York versus a Massachusetts-based organization.
So we actually, in terms of the PGA branches, we fall under the Northeast New York branch. And when I talked to them, I said, is there someone in Massachusetts I can speak to? They said we actually are under their jurisdiction. So they have certain professionals in Western Massachusetts or Berkshire County that they work with for this particular program. So we actually would fall under there.
Thank you.
I don't even know. No questions. I'm happy to see we're going to be expanding our this program. It's great. Thank you so much for being there.
Did you hear what?
I'm sorry.
No,
I did not hear what he said. I'm sorry.
I said, no questions. I'm just very grateful that we're expanding, and thank you for the work on this, Jen. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jen,
I have
what
one question.
grade level would you be looking at? Would this go across grade levels, or what
Yeah.
grade level would it
This
fall?
is, so this would be K through 6. So the PGA professional that would come in would basically spend 2 full weeks all day long with Julia and I. And we would be teaching, well, he would be teaching or she would be teaching the classes, and we would be right there alongside assisting and then learning how. And then we would get the whole curriculum, because they have a whole curriculum that goes along with this program. So then we would have that. So then in future years, the PGA professional doesn't come back, we would then teach it from there. But it would be the entire elementary school K-6.
That's great. So they get exposure all the way through K through 6.
Yep.
Aaron, you had a question, sorry.
No, you asked it for me about the grade levels, so
Sorry.
I got
that's
one
fine
thing.
with me.
Randy's got one.
Yeah, so Jen, this is great. I agree with Kirk and everyone else. I think this is a great opportunity. I just have a question. Do you envision this as maybe an after-school activity, doing more with this as an after-school activity as well?
I mean, we would love to do something, maybe more of it, turning it into an after-school thing, seeing how this goes. We're really, really trying to look at all different kinds of before and after school things. And if it's something where we have a lot of interest, then I'm more than happy to work with Greenock and see if Ryan Butterick would be interested in doing an after-school program with it too, and maybe having the kids be able to go to the golf course and do something there too. So we definitely want to try and expand it. And I think it's just a really great, it's a good opportunity for us if we can do it. And then I know that there's other opportunities too throughout Berkshire County in the summer that a member at Greenock, Dr. Suka Moran, actually is very big into growing the game of golf, and he has reached out to me and asked if we would be able to hand information out because he does a lot of free tournaments for all ages and stuff too. So this would just be things to tie it in to really try and boost up all of interest in this sport.
Perfect. So that sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think the next question is, do we have, Mike, can you free up funds for us?
I could identify some funds to pay for that.
All right, so is anybody would anybody like to make a motion to approve the golf in schools?
I'll make a motion that we approve the golf in schools as a program for the Lee Elementary School. Second.
Any discussion? Brenda, can you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Robin,
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth,
Yes.
Mrs. Kushard,
Yes.
Ms. Larmen,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Strickler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Jen. We're expecting great things out of the golf team now.
I hope so.
You better be feeding Matt some good team people. All right, next thing on our agenda is future business. And the only thing that's on there is that our next meeting is on November 9th. And then our last thing on the agenda is adjournment.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn. Second.
Any discussion?
Quick with that.
I know, that was quick.
Got some hunger over
I
here.
know. Brenda, can you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Robin,
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth,
Yes.
Mrs. Kushard,
Yes.
Ms. Larmen,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Strickler,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned at 8:37 PM. I will see y'all next month.